Have you ever met a woman who seemed emotionally bulletproof? Calm, confident, and in control, yet deep down, you sensed something fragile beneath the surface? Most men never see it. They chase beauty, they chase validation, but they never stop to understand the quiet patterns that truly move a woman's heart. Here's the truth: every woman, no matter how strong she appears, carries hidden vulnerabilities that only a wise man can recognize. Not to exploit, but to understand. Because once you understand them, you stop being reactive. You stop chasing. You start leading with quiet authority. This is where Stoicism enters the game. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." And when you apply that to modern relationships, you realize something profound. The more power you have over your emotions, the more she feels safe to let go of hers. Today, I'm revealing 7 hidden female weaknesses, not the cliches, not manipulation tactics, but the deep psychological truths that shape attraction, security, and emotional connection. Listen carefully, because once you see these patterns, you'll never see women the same way again. And if you master them, you'll never have to chase love again. It will naturally flow toward you. Point 1. Emotional validation addiction. Have you ever noticed how some women seem to feed on attention like oxygen? Compliments, likes, validation. They crave it not because they're vain, but because deep down they fear not being enough. That's one of the most hidden weaknesses in women. An unquenchable thirst for emotional validation. From a Stoic lens, this is a symptom of internal instability, the mind's inability to anchor itself in truth. A woman's ego, much like a man's, wants to be reassured that she's desired, admired, wanted. But here's the catch. When a man becomes that constant provider of reassurance, she subconsciously loses respect for him, because she senses that his validation is not power, it's neediness disguised as love. Think about Emily, a woman from London who constantly posts selfies online. On the surface, it's just harmless fun. But behind that digital smile is a quiet plea. Tell me I'm beautiful so I can believe it. When a man keeps feeding that need, she doesn't fall in love. She becomes emotionally dependent yet strangely distant. Why? Because she doesn't admire the man who gives her validation freely. She admires the man who doesn't need to. This is where Stoic wisdom becomes your greatest advantage. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind and not outside events." When you stop chasing a woman's validation, she senses something powerful: your self-control. Your restraint becomes magnetic because it represents the one thing she lacks: emotional stability. A high-value man doesn't shower a woman with compliments to gain approval. He speaks from authenticity. He doesn't chase to be chosen. He allows the natural pull of respect to do its work. The irony is, when you stop seeking to impress her, you become impressive. When you stop trying to win her, you start winning her mind. Every woman, no matter how strong, craves a man who can ground her emotions, not amplify them. So remember this: the moment you stop being her emotional mirror, you become her emotional anchor. And that's when attraction turns into obsession. Point 2. Fear of losing control. Beneath every confident woman lies a silent fear, the fear of losing control. It's not about dominance or submission, it's about emotional surrender. A woman's world is built on the illusion that she must always be in control and of her emotions, her choices, her heart. But when she meets a man who doesn't bend easily, that illusion begins to crack. This fear is her hidden weakness, because true feminine energy is drawn to masculine calm, the kind that doesn't flinch under pressure, doesn't argue with chaos, and doesn't chase emotional storms. When she senses you're not emotionally reactive, she unconsciously feels both safe and vulnerable. And that's when attraction deepens. Take Sarah from New York. She's smart, independent, and used to controlling every situation. But when she meets Daniel, a calm, grounded man who never reacts impulsively, she feels something she can't explain. His silence makes her nervous. His confidence unsettles her, and his emotional restraint triggers both curiosity and respect. That's the paradox. The more control she tries to maintain, the more she feels drawn to the man who doesn't try to control her. From a Stoic standpoint, control is an illusion. Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you, but how you react that matters. When you stop competing for control in relationships, you shift the dynamic completely. You become the calm in her storm, and that calmness becomes her emotional weakness, because she can't find it anywhere else. Most men fail here. They mistake her assertiveness for dominance and try to prove themselves. But the moment you start trying to win power struggles, you lose presence. The Stoic man never fights for control, he embodies it. His steadiness becomes irresistible because it gives her something she's been searching for her entire life: peace. A woman may test you, challenge you, or even push your buttons, not because she wants to hurt you, but because she wants to feel your strength. If you stay calm when she's emotional, measured when she's chaotic, and composed when she's reactive, you win her respect at a level no charm or money can buy. That's the art of quiet dominance, and it's her deepest emotional weakness. Point 3. The desire to be understood without speaking. Here's something most men never realize. Women want to be understood without having to explain themselves. It's not logic they seek, it's emotional resonance. A woman might say, "I'm fine," when she's not, hoping you'll feel what she can't say. This silent desire to be seen without words is one of her most profound weaknesses. Let's go to Sydney. Olivia is arguing with her boyfriend, James. She's upset because he forgot their anniversary. But the truth is, it's not about the date. It's about feeling unimportant. James tries to fix it logically. "I was busy. It slipped my mind." But Olivia doesn't want reasons. She wants recognition. She wants him to see her hurt without her having to spell it out. When he doesn't, she grows distant, cold, detached. This is how emotional gaps form. Stoic men understand the power of silent perception. You don't have to always respond. Sometimes you just have to see. To observe without judgment. To feel her energy shift and address it calmly. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." That applies here. Don't tell her you care. Show it through presence. A woman melts when she feels deeply seen. When your attention cuts through her words and reaches her emotions. Most men listen to reply. Few listen to understand. The latter earns her trust. The former loses her heart. This isn't about being her therapist. It's about emotional intelligence. When you can sense her energy, when you recognize her silence as sadness, her sarcasm as insecurity, or her anger as unspoken pain, she bonds with you in ways words can't describe. And here's the twist: when you can read her without effort, she becomes emotionally vulnerable. Because finally, someone understands her beyond her mask. That's her weakness. Emotional transparency in front of a grounded man. And when you can master that awareness, you no longer chase women. They chase the peace that only you provide. Point 4. The craving for emotional leadership. Every woman, no matter how independent she appears, craves one thing deeply: emotional leadership. It's not about dominance, control, or superiority. It's about direction. She wants to feel safe following a man who knows where he's going. Not just in life, but in emotion, purpose, and presence. This is a weakness that most men overlook because they mistake modern independence for emotional self-sufficiency. But here's the truth. A woman might handle her career, her social life, and her goals, yet still yearn for a man whose calm energy can lead the rhythm of her emotions. Let's take an example from Los Angeles. Sarah is a successful architect, confident and outspoken, but in her relationship with Michael, she feels constantly unanchored. Why? Because Michael never takes initiative. He waits for her to decide everything: where to go, what to do, even how to resolve conflicts. Over time, she loses attraction, not because he's unkind, but because he lacks direction. A woman doesn't respect a man who floats. She respects a man who leads. But leadership doesn't mean control. It means you remain calm when she's emotional, firm when she's indecisive, and grounded when she's lost. When you embody this energy, she instinctively relaxes around you. The Stoics understood this balance better than anyone. Marcus Aurelius said, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." That's the core of masculine leadership, not guiding without controlling, loving without losing yourself. When you lead with emotional steadiness, she can finally let go of her defenses. That surrender is her weakness. Most men think being nice wins her heart. It doesn't. Being emotionally steady does. When you calmly make decisions, when you stand firm on your principles, when you provide reassurance without losing self-respect, she begins to see you as her emotional compass. That's when her respect turns into loyalty. Remember, a woman's deepest desire is not to control a man, it's to trust one. And that trust is only born when your words, actions, and emotions move in harmony. That's emotional leadership. and it's one of her greatest hidden weaknesses. Point 5. The need to feel chosen. A woman may appear indifferent, even emotionally distant, but inside every woman is a deep psychological need to feel chosen. Not selected out of convenience, but chosen out of admiration. In a world full of men chasing her attention, the one who stands out isn't the one who flatters her. It's the one who makes her earn his focus. That's the paradox of attraction. She doesn't truly want endless attention. She wants meaningful attention from a man whose attention means something. Let's go to Toronto. Olivia, a marketing executive, gets compliments every day, yet she finds herself drawn to James and a quiet, confident man who rarely praises her but always notices the details others miss. He doesn't flood her with validation, but when he says, "You handled that situation impressively," it lands deeper than 100 empty compliments. Why? Because his attention carries value. Stoicism teaches that value is created through scarcity. When your energy is rare, your presence becomes priceless. A man who doesn't give his focus freely, but intentionally, awakens a woman's deepest emotional need. She starts craving his approval not because he withholds it, but because it's authentic. Women are wired to chase significance. When a man's attention feels earned, it creates emotional tension, the kind that makes her think about him when he's gone, check her phone waiting for his message, and question why his silence feels louder than others' words. That's the hidden weakness. When you're selective with your energy, when you choose her not out of loneliness but clarity, she feels something rare, specialness. And in that moment, she becomes emotionally vulnerable. Because the man who truly chooses her doesn't just reach her heart, he reaches her soul. Point 6. Her emotional mirror effect. A woman's emotions are like water fluid, reflective and responsive. The way she feels around you depends largely on what you project. This is what I call the emotional mirror effect. Her weakness? She unconsciously absorbs your emotional state. If you're anxious, she becomes restless. If you're calm, she softens. If you're indifferent, she doubts herself. And if you're confident, she feels safe. Let's take Daniel and Emily in Manchester. Daniel's calm energy makes Emily feel centered. When she's upset, he doesn't rush to fix her or argue. He listens, breathes, and responds slowly. Over time, she realizes something powerful and her mood rises and falls with his emotional temperature. That's no coincidence. It's psychology. Women are highly attuned to emotion. They pick up micro-signals, tone, and energy faster than words. A Stoic man understands this, and that's his silent strength. He knows that by mastering his reactions, he influences hers. The Stoics believed, he who controls himself controls the world. That includes your emotional world and hers. When you remain composed during chaos, you shift her from anxiety to safety, from testing to trusting. Here's the hidden truth. Women crave men who can regulate emotion, because they can't always regulate their own. Your composure becomes her comfort. Your silence becomes her peace. This is her weakness, not in a manipulative sense, but in a deeply human one. A woman naturally aligns with the energy of the man she respects. So if you want her to be soft, be stable. If you want her to be feminine, be firm. When your calmness becomes her emotional mirror, she sees in you what she wishes to find within herself. That's when emotional connection transforms into something spiritual. The fear of irrelevance. A woman's deepest fear isn't rejection, it's irrelevance. The thought of being replaced, forgotten, or unseen cuts deeper than heartbreak. That's why you see the constant need for attention, validation, and comparison. Beneath it all lies one question. What if I stop mattering? When a man is too available, she feels safe but bored. When he disappears, she feels unwanted. But when he moves with purpose, focused, growing, and unbothered, she feels magnetically pulled back. Because that's when she realizes she no longer controls his emotions. Daniel and Chloe from New York proved this. He once revolved around her. She lost interest. But when he focused on his mission, she came running back, haunted by the thought that he'd moved on. A Stoic man doesn't chase attention, he commands it. Purpose makes you powerful, and that power makes her fear losing you. Conclusion. In the end, women aren't drawn to perfection, they're drawn to peace. Every weakness we discussed reveals one truth. The more disciplined you are within, the more magnetic you become without. When you live by Stoic values, composure, purpose, and boundaries, you stop chasing validation. You become it. She'll feel it in your silence, your focus, your calm. So master these truths, not to control her, but to control yourself. Because real attraction begins with self-mastery. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.